Yay! Hello, hello, hello. Well, I almost didn't make it today. Well, I'm alive. I'm alive. Yay! I've been having a really bad allergy day, and also there's a band playing or going to play soon this weekend. I and the funny thing was that it sounded like a Christian rock group. It was like what? In Poland? What's up, Poland? A Christian rock group singing English songs? Like, oh my god! Wow, it's a weird small universe. I've been busy with school crap and paper administrative things. My next Tuesday, I'll have the exam in my key methods course. Part of a team with all of us. And we're gonna have this big class test, and we're gonna have things like this, and get tests back. And I have to do this weekend. I need to. Right now, I've been spending the past day and a half doing administrative crap. I'm teaching my American course as well, so I've been trying to meet with my eight. Yesterday, I tried to meet with my eight students, but only one showed up for the BA theses, which none of them are going to be ready by July for their July defense. I've been kind of like frustrated. They're all aiming at September, so my August is going to be fouled up. Um, Dealing with reviewing these things is like, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't have my vacation in August then, if that's the case, if you're going to be doing like that. My allergies been like fuck, really. Ugh. And I can hardly see, honestly. I was in class yesterday, during the lecture, and everything got foggy because of the allergies and things like this. As my eyes are just getting. So I started my Machiavelli recordings. We started that kind of in the. I kind of stopped at yes one thing. I think we got almost the first week done. No, I got one. I think I got one or two more videos for the first week of the Machiavelli recording. We're stuck in book 4, chapter 4, which is going to be a long chapter. I was going to do it today, but I was just dead, literally dead. With the allergy, I slept until like 1. My Wednesday, this last Wednesday, in fact, when I recorded the video, I recorded some videos Wednesday. I had my heart. I had to do my. We had. Okay, there's a certain person trying to get in here now. She can't get in here because I'm busy. I think she's trying to do stuff in her garden. My Facebook. We was it Wednesday. She discovered. I think it was Wednesday or maybe some other day. She discovered down at the metro area down here, over there, and thing. They found a little teeny hedgehog, little baby, young hedgehog in the middle of the path, and she rescued it with people like, oh, if you're going to get killed by the car or something. And so she took it to our garden area. So she's hiding it there now. But she wants to do her gardening. So no, that's why she popped her head in. And she popped her head in. She can't control herself. She probably wants to go over here, but she can't because I can't turn this off because this is live. Well, that's the problem of the lie, right? Like I said, this week has been kind of crazy. I had the heart checkup. It took for a year to get the heart halter to do the 24-hour checkup because my doctor says I have to check it. I'm getting to that big 60 soon next year. So and most of my men in my family don't live to their 50s. So just checking with the heart and things like this, the stress of the accreditation that happening at the university, my Wall Street University. And to be honest, it was kind of this frustrating thing the stress of the paperwork and crap. I have to do my key methods course tests coming, but I also have to take all the paperwork for my key method students, and of their class discussions. Try to grade them on class discussions and methodology. Um, and I take notes in this. I have to now do bookkeeping. I have to do like 8 groups of 15, around 15 students. I have to now put the bookkeeping and put their grades in. I have their estimates. I have my records of everything, physical records. I have to now put that into a grade. And to be easy, it's an easy, I just take notes about how students answered, whether it's positive, stronger, or not. And then I'll just I'll put that in my Excel file. I haven't done that. People say, why don't you do that regularly? Because you need to have if I'm going to give a grade and everyone's going to be grading the thing, you can't just do it different times. You have to evaluate everyone together. This is a constant problem of giving assessments. If you're going to assess people, you have to assess them on the same standard. You can't have one group assess one way and then give another group assess that another way. And then what you do is you give both the same grade. That doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, you apply the same grading criteria scale for both, and it ends up becoming an unequal evaluation. So I'm going to I'm going to need a day or two a day, most likely. I'll probably do it Sunday. I'll probably spend some time Sunday evening with my tablet and just go do it. Or I'll do my quizzes. I took a quiz. I have 15 quizzes. I have to remember to reprint some quizzes. Some students didn't have, I needed to take makeup, and I didn't have, I lost somehow, I lost the printout of some quizzes for the last quiz that we had before my trip. We went to, we had the holiday last Thursday, and that led me to doing the video, and over in my in-laws' house. In fact, that will happen next week. Next week, I'll probably be after Thursday evening. We'll take the night trip after my Thursday class. I'm going to have to go on a night trip to visit my in-laws, and my wife has to get the car checked. The LP. We have one of these cars that are both gas benzene, but also LP gas capacity. That liquid natural gas, a natural gas container, and so it tries to save energy, right? It's and we have one of those cars, which is very common in Poland, but not and we have to check it every year, so it has to get checked. And she had to take an appointment. She couldn't do it last time. She has to do it this time, and she's getting it checked on Friday. So we're going to be there Friday over the weekend. And I'm going to have a problem doing. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a live stream next week. We'll try. I'll try. I'll try and do a live stream next week. But I might do a preemptive video and just do a video for it. And some people may be disappointed, but I'll do my best. I'll do one thing or another. You won't get if I do it live, you won't get this nice setup. You'll probably get the similar kind of backdrop as you got last time. So that's life. Life is completed. I have not. I did a lot of kind of prep work for the paper I needed to write by July. I took the audio recording of the paper, which I have not to be honest with you, I have not uploaded yet on YouTube. People saying, why haven't you put it on YouTube yet? I said, because I'm just kind of a little not ready to post it. Maybe I'll post it for Friday, but I don't know. This is the video of that conference on this. It's on it's on the preconditions for constitutionalism, and that's the kind of pain in the butt technical things I have to do. Okay? I've been trying to do I've been trying to do the little teeny short video things. It's hard to keep on doing those. I'll do some more. I have to just maybe plan them better, do more, to kind of do having only 60 seconds to do something, spend it on a theme or a question or topic. Someone said, well, why don't you do this? I might have to create a list of things I need to do and just do that for those things. I did Grisham's law of that. I might talk about the iron law of oligarchy. A little bit there too. That might be a good series of questions I might do. I might have little themes or issues that people want to talk about in 1 minute, little blibbits. I said, so I'm going to be tackling the Prince. We're doing the Prince again. I have to write my paper about political anthropology, Aristotle's political anthropology. That's due in September, and I really need to do that because it's a premier journal. I've been still waiting for the articles to get published in those Polish journals. One told me, the guy said, the one that was supposed to be published in May said they're delayed because of publishing problems, delayed of the publication, and the publishing house, which is in Krakow, will get published. The journal probably in September. My issue will probably be released in September, and I'm saying, oh god, okay, this is this year. But then the other journal I haven't heard from. I just heard the guy from saying that it's still under review. So I'm kind of like anxious about it. Anxious about it because it is bad practice not to be told, that they still. It's now, what is it, 6 months almost. It's the start of June. Oh, it's over 5 months, and they have not made an editorial review. That is not a good. That is bad. I wouldn't. You have to be no more than 90 days, really, no more. 120 days is really, because that makes it very difficult for people to revise and send to new journals to get published. If a journal is not going to publish something, they need to tell people that so that people can take some time revising and submit. Or maybe if they don't, then maybe the reason why they're being rejected is simply that the journal doesn't want to think the article fits or some reason. And that should be done in 30 days. Okay. If you're going to have the topic doesn't really fit us, or it's not going to suit our product, an editorial decision, editorial rejections should be done in no more than 30 days. But substantive rejections, okay, that way that gives people 30 days, 40 days to a couple of times to still get it within the year, or if not, maybe sent to another journal. And maybe it's the question is what is a substantive issue? Is it just simply just hackery that the reviewer doesn't really like it, or he just doesn't agree with your argument because he has a different take, and therefore if you send to another editor set of reviewers, you might get a different answer. And that's constantly true in academic publishing these days. So it's a little bit of this and that. So I'm kind of like out of it. And to be honest, it's been difficult to kind of think or concentrate work these past couple of weeks. It's teaching has been so busy. I've been so busy, like preparing for teaching in that sense. I'm finishing up. Next week will be the finished of not Tuesday. I'll finish the last class of my in the American Constitution course, which I'm recording the courses for. I have so far we have 13 meetings. We'll have the 14th meeting, which deals with the North Carolina Convention and Rhode Island Convention, the last two states ratification conventions, and I think I might spend I might they're on my I've uploaded them, I've recorded them, and I've uploaded them for on my YouTube and also Google Drive for purposes of sharing with people to edit. I share with students. I did that for some students missed class and they want to see the material. But what I now will do is I might use that this summer to kind of put a class out this summer online. I might just do that, the Constitution course. It's going to be the Constitution. It's an hour and a half per course. So it's going to be longish, but it's going to focus on the ratification first, the Constitution itself, the framing of it at Philadelphia, going over the Ferran material. So, it's not like I'm reading the material and we're just talking about it. It's a class lecture. I thought I'd do that. Someone asked me, someone who's been Polish people, people who've been following my YouTube stuff on Aristotle and things, contacted me about a course at Washington University that I often teach, the Introduction to Politics course, which I've submitted to 5 of. I did the review. I read that every year. It's undergrad. It's a freshman course. And been re-recording. I recorded it this week. I recorded things a lot of times. This time for CYA, for covering my ass, to have a record of what I did, so people can not say I said something. I do say things sometimes I shouldn't, but this is why I have a recording of it. I'm not afraid of being recorded in that sense, and therefore, if something I said is someone says something said something I said and takes out of context, I can show people, oh, this is the video. Here, watch it. This is where I said it. Watch it. And this way I'm covering my behind. Now, I know a lot of radical leftists wouldn't want their courses. A lot of my left-wing colleagues wouldn't want their courses recorded because of how the reaction to it would be if the people actually saw what they did. I have no problem. So I've been doing the recordings. I posted 5 of them already. I might post the rest of them soon. I just have to organize spend some time with the card and put some information on the card for the purposes of each thing. What is the readings? And people ask me, put the readings on. And if I do the same thing for the American constitutional law, I will do the same thing for that. I'll put the card up there, and that's how you have to do it, right? So I've been thinking about that in that sense. That's going to be good. Some work I need to kind of do. But I need to go get the writing done. So that's going to be the big thing. And I need to finish the Aristotle book. I was talking with a guy I met at the thing, a British scholar, and I said, I need to get the book done. I'm getting to the point where I can take a sabbatical year, and I think I will ask for a sabbatical year. Not this year, not the coming year, but the year after. So after my 60th birthday, I'll do that. And I'll take the book and I'll get the book done. I think I want to get the book done this year, but I'm not going to get it done this year. I was going to hope, so maybe next year I get some things done. I have, to be honest with people, I'm stuck in book 5. I made a decision about book 5, taking out the chapters on the preserving and the changes to tyranny and tyrannies and monarchy. Chapters 10 and 11 of book 5. Take them separately and take them as a separate book. Do them really as a separate little book. That would require. That would be a 2-year project in itself. And if I do that in that sense, so it will be a separate book. But But by doing this, I only have 1 more chapter in book. Honestly, 2 more chapters in book 5 to do. I have the preservation, the chapter on 2 chapters on a chapter on 2 chapters on preservation, and the chapter on 10 of longevity, the cycle of regimes and longevity of regimes. And then I have to do the question of establishing regimes in book 6, which I've come now to argue that Shushmail is right, that book 6 of the politics is really about the establishment of establishing regimes, and that there's everyone points that book 7 is the establishment. No, that's the establishment of the regime you pray for, not and I might have a cup to say the difference between this is that the regime you'd pray for is not the one you'd establish. And therefore, the regime that he wants to establish, he ends up only focusing on 2. He doesn't want to establish monarchy. He doesn't bother saying it's not possible. Tyrannies, you don't want to do it. Then he doesn't believe you can establish the regime called regime or polity. There's no account of establishing it. And that although aristocracy or the aristocracy that you wish to establish is the regime, not so-called aristocracy, but rather the regime that you pray for is book 7 and 8. But that's really problematic, and it deserves a treat, and it's been treated. But I think it should be treated again, because I think it is a thought experiment. I think it does point to the limits of politics. And then the last thing is Aristotle on education. I think the section on education that raises because of the best regime. A lot of book 8 will deviate from the question of the establishment of the regime. Book 8 of the politics really focuses on the question of education, which is raised because of the best regime. Okay, and also raised at the question at the end of book book 10 of the Nicomachean Ethics, where it talks about the purpose of education. And I think that is the discussion of education in that sense, and the political education as a whole. But okay, I see my point of what I'm going to be doing here. And I feel good about getting that the regime, Aristotle's regime book, will be kind of my magnum opus in that sense, that this is the book that dealt with the regimes, and that therefore I've said something substantive about this. But whereas the little teeny book I wrote for Washington University Press is kind of my, the beginning point, that kind of like the prolegomena of my regime science. And I think that's kind of going to be the Kingship. I have a so that's what I'm up to now. You guys, I've been thinking about. I've been reading Victor End of Everything. I talked about this a little bit. It's a good book. I've been doing it. What else I've been trying to deal with? I haven't got many new books recently, honestly. I just got my copy of that, and I got a second copy of it because I think I'm gonna give it to a friend. I should buy a couple books, new books. A book about Machiavellian war that was published, that I know from Christopher Lynch, who translated it and published the translation, now has a book about it, and it's been out for about a half a year, maybe longer, that I should get, but I've been kind of lazy. I should get the recent Paul Ray's book on the latest his latest book on Sparta. Paul Ray's written multi-volume about the Spartan regime. And now it's moved from Yale. He's left Yale. I think Yale got sick of it in that sense. So how many times you can talk about Sparta? Because he's been looking at every major war, and I think after the Second Attic War, he kind of said, and now he's going to be doing about the proxy war, and I think that's being published by Encounter, which is very interesting that Encounter is publishing Encounter Books is publishing what would really be an academic book, but it's not. I'm happy that he's getting it published, but it's going to be it's hitting my bank account. People, I want to say I got an email. I got a message today, looking at the last video about our fellow, James or Corlitz, who posted about BAP's dissertation, selective breeding, and I've read it. I read the dissertation. The book in the dissertation is slightly different. He altered it. It's the dissertation with some edits to kind of tie in the larger question. It's not a revision. It's not a serious revision of the dissertation. It's adding some footnotes and references that he didn't have at the time. And to be honest, I've always been I think it goes. My own problem with the selective breeding book is that I think it goes too far. It tries to make an argument that is, if you're going to do the selective breeding discussion, like he says, then perhaps he should have done a closer example of the Republic, about the nuptial numbers, and examine the Republic and the regime of the Republic and the regime of the laws. Okay, those two regimes, rather than the Gorgias and discussion of tyranny. I think the breeding argument about tyranny is a leap. And I think that is an important thing. I think if he's going to discuss tyranny, I think the breeding argument would have been a separate book, a different book. And I think, but BAP is making too much money doing what he does. He's not really an academic anymore in that sense. He's not really going to produce a scholarship book. I think this is kind of like he knows that he would. I think he used his status, and it's selling like hotcakes, because of who he is, right? And I wish he didn't do it this way. Because I think really this book really needed the book itself. This station, I think it was a mistake the direction he took it in. He needed to work on it a little bit in the sense of divide it into two themes, and I think it would have been a much better project, deeper project in that sense. But academic, we're not academics anymore, right? But this is my problem. I am an academic. I want to be remembered for my scholarship. Maybe no one will care about it, but it's the life I've chosen. Okay, or had chosen for me. And I've even in picking a job someplace way out of America and my in a thing out of the thing, it's I'm doing what I'm doing. I would like to be back in America, but that ain't gonna happen. I'm too old, and I just didn't have the energy now to move back to America. I'm probably gonna be dying here. It's just the reality of this. Um, Even if I may live like two more decades, um, I'm probably, and I've only a decade worth of scholarship left, really, before they force me to retire. Uh, and to be honest with you, I feel I have only maybe I have a decade left. Now, I'm having, and I can see my cognitive not decline, but the fact that it's getting difficult to read, after COVID and what COVID did to my eye, my head, the fog did really frustrate people. I'm not as bad. I mean, I've seen people who got it worse. I'm not as bad as that, but I'm now something hit now people say it's not COVID, but I'm having issues with my eyes, and that it's blurry. I probably need glasses. People say, "Oh, you need glasses," but I don't need glasses. I need glasses to read. But the question of it's just sometimes just everything's get low, and I think it's the season of this. It's been two times. It's happened this starting the spring and this time. Due to allergies, a dust allergy, then later now pollen allergy. So I can see that's how that works. So I mean, I know what's going to be going on here. I know what people are caring about, what's going on. So, but Corlitz's piece on the selective breeding book. I mean, Dungeon. How can I say his name? Um, uh, I posted it. I'm going to get mad at myself for not. Uh, 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 I posted it, and I should have. I posted it. Dungeon Shala. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to find the name. Oh my. Dungeons. I can't say his name. In the current issue of Political Science Reviewer, um, Science Reviewer, um, they had a book review of BAP, the current issue. The title is by Dustin Shabell, who teaches at where is this? He teaches both. His title is called Achilles Without a Zeus. He teaches at the Naval Academy. He used. I mean, I'm not sure. He's at Michigan State University in the academy. In other words, he was asked to review. He reviewed Custom Alamaco. I can't ever say Elmirio BAP, Selective Reading and the Birth of Philosophy, right? and he wrote a very hard review, I think fair review, but a little critical, very critical in a sense, and pointed out some of the, I think, the real legitimate criticisms of what BAP did in the thesis. Corlett said to me, talked about, but even Corlett wrote something about this, about he felt that he recognized, he sensed that when he reading the book, he recognized a book called Le Nazi, l'Antique by Johann Schapat. There was an English translation in 2010, right? He goes, where there's a chapter there about the interpretation of Plato under the Third Reich. And now, Corlett is not a Nazi, he's not just a Nazi under Napart, he's not, Corlett is, James is a thing, is very much interested in the critique of liberalism and the failure of liberalism. But he was just saying that, no, he said, wait a minute, what is going on here? Why didn't Bronjay's Pervert cite this? Because there's no reference to this book in selective reading. And I said I even said this in my reply to Corlitz's comment, post on the previous, I said, listen, maybe you should write this up, because this would be an interesting take, saying what's going on here. Hey, BAP, why are you silent? Is there plagiarism here? Is there a unintentional plagiarism or plagiarism? I don't want to accuse him of that, but in a way, but back to the Dustin Sibel's Sibel's written 2 or 3 books on Plato. He's very good books on Plato in that sense. I remember correctly. He's the one on Plato? Yeah, he's written 2 books on Plato. One on the Gorgias. He's written the Socratic Turn by the Socratic Turn by through what is it? Our University of Pennsylvania University of Pennsylvania series, Knowledge of Good and Evil in the Age of Science, which I have. It's a good book. And he has a book on, I remember Dustin, he has a very good book on the Gorgias. Also on Socratic Xenophon Education, which is, I think that's a 2021 book on the Socratic education. Xenophon Socratic education. But there's another book, if I remember correctly, of his. Let me see. Another book of his that is not listed in my list, but it's under it's yeah, oh no, it's he does not his, it's Devin Scheffler's utility of this, which I know Devin Scheffler is a very good guy. He's a Pangle student who's now at UT Austin with Pangle. So it's so I mean, this is one of those weird things where you always like, oh my God, this is like, why are you being so crucial? I can see what the Straussians, a certain sect of Straussians, are kind of little scared of BAP and being BAP being associated with the Straussians, okay? Because this is what's his name, Breiner, the man who kind of dropped out or almost tempted to kill Milliman, right? Not kill him, but he sabotaged Milliman. He was his dissertation advisor and then backed out at the last minute. Honestly, Milliman, Milliman got his dissertation on Heidegger, ultimately published by that, I forget where is it. It's that it's Archiva. It's a European publishing house that published a lot of new right stuff, alt right stuff, and conservatives and reactionary stuff. Very good. It deals relatively good publication quality. Milliman's book on Heidegger, and that he also published translations of Dugin there. So I think he had a relationship there. And I'm I don't know what. See, in many ways, BAP is a generation. Is slightly older than Milliman in terms of the career. Both were at Ivy League schools. I mean, one was at UT, University of Toronto, and the other one was at Yale. Okay, but Yale in the early thousands. Okay, and he was under. I mean, to be honest with you, both of them were under Straussians, who were kind of, I call them girly boy. I like Cliff Owen. I like personally, we get along, but on the pop, he has this fear of the masses. Okay, I remember his blowing off at this Harvard fellow who was then at Yale, now at Berkeley, who I kind of know. She's a student of Tusk, and who's done a lot of work on Greek philosophy, the early Greek regimes and democracy and popular rule, through the courts and the Athenian courts. Very good work on that stuff. And Cliff Owen went bananas at her paper, saying that she was like how she's siding with the mob, and how could you defend this, and this is anti-philosophy, and I was just I was like, wait, whoa, where is this coming from? And then Cliff Owen's a criticism of that. Now, I can see this. There's a case where, why does Cliff Owen? I mean, Cliff Owen associates with his liberal Judaism, but also his tide for Israel because his son's the service and war of terror. Um, but at the same time, you have Owen, who's kind of, I will not say neocon, but he is kind of neoconish in that sense. He and Bloom were kind of with those circles of people. And Milliman's critique and his interest in things like Heidegger and Dugin and mysticism, and that the fact that Milliman himself is Jewish, raised certain. So how you're one of us? How, this is. I think this is also a little bit of Briner's shock of this. I mean, that Milliman went too far, goes too far, and that Richard Briner's book, and I was joking about Briner's was a hypocrite because his book on political theology points to the exact same problem that people like Milliman raise politically, and even what BAP raises. To what degree is BAP really a political theologist in the light of what happens post the breakdown of liberalism? Okay, that once you break down liberalism and liberalism self critiques, the self critique of liberalism ultimately leads to a kind of reaction against liberalism, and this was going to be based on a kind of a theopolitical question, a recovering of the old gods in that sense. And I think there is, and I think BAP is in his a podcasting way. Bronze Age Pervert is kind of doing this to Nietzsche, right? This is that I must not, to be honest with you, I'm just not, maybe I'm too old. I'm too old, too fat, don't care. I'm, and also maybe I'm really more political than him in this. This is my problem with Yarvin. I think Yarvin, people like Yarvin, for all their talk about things, are very not political. And I think BAP ultimately is trans-political in the sense of in this. sense. I think in many ways, okay, yes, the younger followers of him want to be engaged in politics, but the problem is the kind of the kind of bigger politics, the kind of politics that BAP and not so much Milliman. Milliman is really more of a Socratic. I don't see, I think he's really an educator. Milliman is an educator. Is BAP an educator? No, I think BAP wants to motivate. BAP is more of a kind of someone who wants to create a school. I think in many ways he learned that thing. He wanted to see. In other words, he wanted to motivate people, to do to the kind of imitate. He looked at what the Straussians, like a certain number of what I call the liberal Straussians, did with the creation of the. We have to remember it was like the liberal Straussians who created the neocons. Okay, not the really hard liberals, but the Blooms, the New Deal, what we call the New Deal Democrat version. Rosen was a New Deal Democrat, but he wasn't politically motivated. Benedetti was kind of a liberal Democrat too, to some degree, but he wasn't politically motivated. They weren't. Bloom kind of was a little bit more political motivated, or not necessarily directly involved, but he was in. He liked being able to put his finger to his students were going to get involved in political things, or have influence in public policy in ways more similar to Jaffa in that sense. How Jaffa encourages students to go. Bloom and Jaffa were very similar to some degrees, but Jaffa went more hard to like the Republican Goldwater, remember the Goldwater, his connection with Goldwater in 65, 64, 64. And then that whole California conservative establishment of the people who backed Goldwater, then Reagan, and the role of House, the people. I forget the guy, Savarari, I don't remember his name, the guy who got that very rich California investment guy who kind of supported, funded the Claremont Institute and things like that. Can never get the names right. I'm saying, you're just Bloom was more kind of what I would call centrist neocon, central left. He focused the students who graduated from elite universities, who had more policy focuses, who really didn't have a chance to become academics. And that's what we used to get someone like Fukuyama. Fukuyama was a failed academic in that sense. Who only became an academic because of the superstar status, because of the end of history, the fame of the end of history moment, and then the book that came out of it that became a bestseller. And then that got him that he turned that into getting teaching jobs at places like first George Mason, then John Hopkins, George Mason, then later at Stanford. Right, this is how this happened in that sense, and then he kind of took his turn to the state. I think that happened at John Hopkins, and then he focused on this whole idea of this international system of state development, state things, which then took him more and more down the path of following Huntington, taking up where Huntington left off. That's Bloom's influence in that sense. This neoconservative. We can say that the neocons, or maybe even neoliberals, this merger of neoliberals and neocons. May have been kind of the Bloomian and something like this attempt. And I think this is the raising of puppies, right? The idea of the philosopher creating puppies, using the metaphor from Xenophon, right? This idea that's now Strauss didn't really make puppies. His puppies were going to be teachers. Strauss didn't really want to make soldiers or gentlemen in that sense. He used that metaphor, but it was not to make gentlemen per se, to make statesmen, but to make young scholars. Okay, this is why Heinrich Meyer's thing about Strauss as a school is interesting from that point of view. Pardon me, I'm scratching and itchy. I know the pollen that must have hit again, and I should wash my face again because I got hit with a pollen dust. I don't really know what to say here from this point of view. I really don't know what to say. So, and I think in many ways, BAP, I can never say his real name, is trying to make a school of not of thinkers, not of scholars, but of activated men. There is this in that sense. I think that is, and I think he reached out, he touched something in a way, almost not in a Jordan Peterson. I think Peterson is doing something different, and I think Peterson is a deeper thinker. I hate to say it like that, and I think because I think Peterson is not wanting to make a school. I think Peterson has no desire to make followers, even though he has followers and he's shaping things. I think he's a little bit more mercantile. I mean, both are mercantile. They're finding a way to find a living. But I think, in one sense, Peterson is just being like he is a psychologist, a person who wants to, a clinical psychologist who wants to help people get better. And I think this is, and that's the difference. This is not, I think in one sense, BAP is more interested in shaping, kind of defining, helping define a new generation of warriors. I'm not sure that's the correct. I mean, am I correct on that? I'm not sure. I just never could stand. I could never even listen to the BAP. I tried listening to some of his episodes. I said, "This is." Maybe I'm annoyed. Maybe my voice is grating. I understand that my voice is not the most pleasant voice in the world. And I saw the interview with BAP interviewing Yarvin, and I just didn't know who was more. I couldn't. The Yarvin I can't listen to. I just really can't listen. I can't read. I tried reading Yarvin. I've been reading Mo Big. I've been going back and reading the Mo Big piece. I never read it at the time because I looked at it and I said, really, this is not that deep. This is not that interesting. This is superficially interesting. Okay, it's on a blog. So people like Mearsheimer and these guys aren't doing this. If someone like, if the realists and the IR theorists were smart, they would have gone to this kind of medium and started doing these things. And then, this is my problem with even though I kind of don't dislike Sargon, but the reason why Sargon and these guys have had any influence is the fact that the people who should have been doing these things had no time for these medium. And I came to way too late. If I did this when I should have done it, I should have been on here. Not that I would ever get the hit. I don't think I've ever been as popular as Sargon, but I think I would have been far more effective if I did this in 2005, 2010, 2008, 2010. If I started doing videos as I kind of wanted to do, I think I think it would have been better. Not to make a better career, but putting a different set of voices to. What to be honest with you, am I I mean, the Straussian, the Bloomian Straussian students would look at me always. They did look at me always as problematic. I mean, I remember this, and just you you know, I was so far to the right. Back, if you can ever access Lance Fletcher's Leo Strauss, the archives of Lance Fletcher's the Leo Strauss listserv, which I think they're still available online. The Google took Yahoo took down the Strauss group, but I think Lance saved everything and put it in an archive someplace online. There's an archive of all these emails. If you go look at that and see my role in those discussion groups, I was kind of an outlier against I was always kind of what we call paleocon. Even though I despise the term paleocon, I was I was there way ahead of I was down the paleocon trad on Strauss because the paleocons hated Strauss and I kind of still like Strauss. I've always thought Strauss was very interesting person and had lots to offer. And I had disagreements with the Jaffaites. I thought the Jaffaites went too far. I think they went down a certain rabbit hole regarding Lincoln. But I think Lincoln is very much a radical liberal in the sense he is the derailment of the American tradition. That Bradford and Kendall hinted at, and others hinted at. And that was therefore maybe because I sided with Bradford, I was anathema to what I call the non-Jaffa, the Jaffa ones even picked on me for that, but the non-Jaffa ones, I was persona non grata. I was like, oh my God, how dare you criticize Lincoln? I didn't really have a chance to meet Walter Burns. I knew Aristotle. Aristotle didn't mind it. Aristotle was always kind of a contrarian. I even knew that, I knew even Roger Masters to the end of his life. I only stopped really contacting Roger when his mind just went, and he was just dement. He was really just, every discussion was about, Trump is this, really this kind, every topic went down to this rabbit hole of just in the last few years. I just couldn't even have any conversation with him, even if I didn't bring it up. I wouldn't bring it up. I purposely try to see what he's interested in, and then he would bring it up immediately about this or something like this or something really, really deranged in that sense, where it became no point to talk with him because it was just ranting and raving of a fear of something. Which was very sad in that sense to see someone that you respect go down this kind of inability to kind of control their minds and control their thinking. So I knew the Straussians. I knew a lot of Straussians. I know Mansfield is even. I'm not contact. I hadn't had the contact with Mansfield as I had with Masters and Aristotle. But it was interesting. The Zuckerts I had communications with, but never really close with. The Zuckerts are kind of anti-Trump. I understand that. I know people do that. I was very close with Peter Lawler. I still am close-ish with Dan Mahoney, and Dan was always difficult to talk with because he's never always busy. But even I haven't talked to him much at all over here. Well, this is probably the Straussians in essence. So I'm thinking about Millerman and gang. Millerman to me is someone who's a teacher in that sense. He's successfully framing himself as an educator. And there's a real difference between what Millerman is doing and what Bapp is doing. Bapp is kind of playing. He's playing and he's shaping something. He's trying to shape. He's responding to this. As I joke, I said, yes. And in fact, he's almost kind of. He's not a therapist. Rather, he's trying to educate the young to become, let's say, warriors in that sense, right? He is trying to make warriors, trying to make political men. He's trying to make political men in the way the both the Straussian, what I call the political Straussians, the Jaffa school and the Jaffa school always talked about making statesmen, right? Statesmanship and statesman program. That's why they generated a whole school of fellows, the Lincoln Fellows, the Publius Fellows, all these fellows that were just basically practitioners, not academics, not people reflecting on things, that will go work in government, try to shape an agenda, shape the political act, really change. That's they started that during the Reagan years. They went down in the Bush years some more, and then it kind of worked in the Trump years a little bit, but not as well as they hoped in that sense. In the Obama years, they created activists and critics. What is interesting is that the Blumites had all their success in the 80s and 90s, early in the 80s and 90s, and in a way, Mansfield was part of that Bloom circle too, because a lot of his students became academics, but some of his students became lawyers and judges and activists in that sense. Some of his and the ones who didn't, the ones Kendall's, not Kendall's, Mansfield's role in shaping someone like Bill Kristol, and Bill Kristol's role in becoming a policy wonk and a shaper of these ideas, and then the Trump derangement syndrome that he went down himself. There is kind of like a failed attempt, and I see that there was a kind of the Bloomian, what I call the Cliff Orwin Bloom. That's what's Pangl. Pangl was more oriented towards his own academic process. Orwin created students also, but he also engaged in the similar political writing and journal and popular opinion writing for the New Republic and public interest in these neocon journals, public intellectual role that Pangl really wasn't comfortable with in a certain way. So this Bloomian kind of cult, this creation of these what I call neoliberal, neoconservative political actors. But then again, I think in ways Claremont was more effective in generating bigger numbers of them. Okay, that's the big difference. I think Claremont did a better job of producing them and continually producing them in that sense. Whereas the Bloomians were kind of picking a small circle of elites, and it became more incestuous. Okay, that's the big difference between I would say the Jaffa versus Bloom. Well, Jaffa versus Bloom and Bloom's peers tried to create their own political elites, their puppies. The two things is that the Claremont school produced a more a kind of a more manifest and machine-like production, whereas the way Bloom handled, once Bloom died, it was I think once Bloom died, the other ones just didn't have the same ability, and Bill Kristol was no Bloom. Bill Kristol spent his time in government, and then when he tried to go back things, he tried to be a public, he tried to kind of influence things. He tried to do this, but he tried to work with Harvey at Harvard to go create things, and what he ended up doing is just again bringing academics and policy people and things like this to kind of highlight this stuff. And the same circle of people were there brought up. I mean, I'll thank. I think I'm going to thank Kristol for what he did with Paul Cantor and having Cantor come to Harvard, Harvey and Cantor, Mansfield and Kristol getting Harvey to that Kristol did the interviews with all the people he did, and we have them online, is a godsend. And I think Bill Kristol as a TV personality, as kind of a host, interviewing people has been actually pretty good, even though him as a public intellectual is kind of like a failure in that sense. But he's no Bloom, in that he's not creating. There's no equal to Bloom, and and Orwin was never able to take up Bloom's ability to as a teacher. He was a good teacher in that sense, but he was not able to generate these political men, these men who would go into politics as well. And I think this is the difference in this. I don't mean to go talk about this the way that I'm going over longer than I thought I would, but this is how I understand this. And BAP is kind of like trying to imitate Bloom in that regard. In this kind of cultivating way, that this personal way, where the Jaffaites did it institutionally. Although Jaffa influenced the generation of this, but these people then institutionalized it in a way with the Claremont Institute that Bloom never accomplished. Bloom would try to do this at Chicago with his Center on Democracy, but he never really. Because I don't think he had his mind. He didn't really have organization, and then his success of of Fukuyama and other people, the success of those people is producing these high quality people who then had good positions in government. But then what happened was that they were disasters in that sense. They were disasters in that sense. Fukuyama never had a government position in that sense. He was just a think tanker. But his role was influential, shaping institutional things. So I think that's what BAP is up to. And Milliman is a wonderful teacher, and I think he's a very good teacher in this thing. I don't think he has a goal of educating people and trying to educate people. Now, the people who go to him are going to probably be more kind of a certain people alienated from the traditional system, and therefore have a politics of the right or center right, maybe to the further right. And that his interest is kind of focused on certain esoteric things, and mysticism to a degree that I'm not that comfortable with. It would be interesting for him to kind of have Milliman needs to have a confrontation with Voegelin. I think that would be a very good thing for Milliman in that sense, a confrontation with Voegelin. Because I think Voegelin might have him take a new look at what people like Dugin and some even maybe because I think Voegelin has inoculated me. I think Voegelin will inoculate you to the lures of mysticism, be it Berdiev, the Russian mysticism of Berdiev and Drang, or Dugin's Pan-Asian. Pan-Eurasianism, or Evola, Julius Evola. I can't read Julius Evola. I mean, it's Gnostic. It's pure Gnosticism in Vogelin's kind of way. There is kind of inoculation here. There is a very important inoculation that Straussians don't really have. Strauss. This is the danger. I think this is the difference between Strauss and Voegelin here. And I'll end on this thought, is that Straussians address the theological political question, treat it seriously, but really don't have any response to the political theological that comes from that arises out of an alternative rationalism or mysticism that would fundamentally challenge the rationality of traditional Western European rationality, post-Enlightenment rationality. In a way that, Voegelin kind of does in that sense. Voegelin says, no, there's a problem here. There's a problem here, but mysticism is not an answer to it. It is a deviation that is actually it is a worse deviation. In fact, we can argue that Western liberalism is itself a deviation from rationalism, but the embracement of mystic identity rationalism as an alternative that is an as dangerous divergence from true rationalism. I think it's useful and um, I'm there's the Vogtland View web page, the YouTube channel that has recordings of Vogtland that are very worthwhile to listen to. I would recommend people listen to these. Vogtland is a very interesting fellow in that sense. Where I spend my time. I listen. People say, "Why don't I do Strauss? Why don't I read Strauss?" You can't. You just read Strauss. Just read Strauss and Vogtland yourself. I'm not going to spend time reading it in that sense simply because I don't think they can be digested in the same way as these classical texts can be. I focus on the classical text because that's what I do. I teach. Why didn't you say, why did you do Schmidt then? Because I think Schmidt is actually very interesting. And Schmidt is digestible. I'm sorry, in ways that Strauss cannot. You can't. You could spend like 5 or 6 videos doing what is political philosophy. I know people just had Alex Preu at the New Thinkery has just did a part 1 and part 2, maybe I don't know how many parts, on what is political philosophy. That I think is a very interesting take. Now, to be honest with you, I think I think Alex is a much more. He says he's conservative. Well, he's more of I call him a liberal, classic, a kind of a central, a classic, mushy kind of establishment conservative in that sense. In this mold of Mansfield's, this kind of liberals who become conservative, and this traditional liberalism. Well, I think that's it. We have 2 people who were here today, and I don't know how many people came and go. No comments, so therefore that's that. If you like it, please like the video. I'm low energy today, as you can say that. I'm really low energy, so please, anything will help us. Those of you who do think about this, I'm still looking for people to send me topics of things that they want me to address. I maybe even ask people to send me a list of topics for short topics I can do for short videos. People say, well, they want short videos. Those minute videos. I don't see how I can do key books in a minute. I hope that's okay. So if you like it, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, you can say no and say why in the comments. You can see them. You can follow me. Please subscribe. It's going to help. We're 30 points away, 30 numbers away from the big number. I want to get 500. We want to hit 500. That's the goal for this summer. Yeah. Please encourage people to come and join us. Come watch us, subscribe, make it better. Next week, I will try to do a video live stream. I'll see. I may have to do a pre-recorded one because we're going to be outside of Warsaw. As I said at the beginning of the video. Want to follow me on social media? You can follow me on the social media links below. You can follow my academic social media below that with the university stuff and the stuff about my research, social media links to the academic scholarship and my research and things like that. And then you can check out the way you want to help me to do it and subsidize me. What I do here, Patreon helps if someone wants to be my sugar daddy. Please, sugar daddy's needed. If you know a rich person who wants to make a sugar daddy, help an old foggy old guy that he can maybe spend some time and not have to deal with bullshit, and maybe not think about. I just had to harass someone about a course that I want to teach someplace else, and doing more teaching is not the last thing I want. Even though next semester they're only giving me 3 courses, so I'm making me nervous. Because if one of them doesn't make, it's going to make my life frigging hell. Well, that's it. So Sugar Daddy, do Patreon, subscribe star, or buy one of my books listed below. You can buy it online. You can buy it at the bookstore or through an online bookseller like Amazon and stuff like that. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or whatever, Libris, whatever server book server that you guys do use, or then you can do so through the publisher directly. Well, that's it for this today. I know tomorrow we're going to be turning to book in my Plato's Law discussion reading group. We're going to be turning to book 11 of the laws. We're going to spend two classes on 11. So that's going to be 2 more books, chapter 11, book 1, 11, 12. So about maybe 4 more weeks of the laws on Saturday. And we don't know what we're going to be doing. I think people might want to do another Platonic dialogue. And honestly, I don't know. I'll step out. I'll host it, and I'll do it. It's always interesting to do this. Well, therefore, that's it. Take care, guys and girls, and whoever watching. Please think about subscribing again. Please send me information about what you guys want me to talk about in future live streams and things. I will give you, if we hit 500, I will do a special live stream the day after it happens, and I will do the 500 celebration. I'll do something to enjoy a celebration. And that's it. So therefore, take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.